Hey everyone, Dr. RAMANI here. So, what about those of you who watch this channel and think you're a narcissist? While most of my content is really designed for people who are experiencing the narcissistic folks, we get lots of requests for people saying, listen, I'm watching your stuff, I'm owning it, I think I might be the narcissistic person. Throw me a bone here. Tell me what I could work on. So that's what this series has been about. We've taken on a variety of topics, sort of the issues raised by narcissism that often cause the most difficulty for other people. So today let's talk about dysregulation. It's a key part of narcissism. Like I said, this series is for people who say, yep, this pattern might be me, and I don't want to do this anymore. Great. It is an uphill climb, but that doesn't mean people can't do it. And so this series is really meant to focus on the most interpersonally difficult dynamics and give you some pointers on what you can do to be able to manage these patterns in yourself. And it's not just that it's going to be good for the people around you, it's going to be a lot better for you if this isn't how you're behaving any longer. Now, dysregulation is what makes narcissism so eggshell walky for everyone else. Now, dysregulation takes in a lot of territory. One of the key pieces of dysregulation is impulsivity, and that's when a person acts out without thinking about the consequences of their behavior. And impulsivity can be a behavior, like if you were to throw something, if you're angry, or screeching off in a car. This can be verbal, which is what we actually probably really most commonly see in narcissistic folks, saying whatever comes to their mind, no matter how hurtful it is, without thinking about the consequences. But verbally, it can also include speaking, texting, emailing, any form of communication that's just completely unfiltered. This can be financial impulsivity, spending a bunch of money on something without thinking about the ramifications. There's also what we call emotional dysregulation, which is the inability to manage any kind of strong emotion. And when that emotion comes up in somebody, they lash out at other people. For example, emotions that they may lash out with include anger, when they're sad, when they're anxious or reactive, and that reactivity is a signature of narcissism. It's the really quick 0 to 60 anger reactions that come anytime that things don't go the narcissist's way. The core of dysregulation is that a narcissistic person doesn't have what I sort of call an internal thermostat to regulate themselves. So they use stuff outside of themselves. Narcissistic people, for example, often regulate using drugs or alcohol or other people. They offload their tension by yelling at other people, or food, or spending, or validation seeking. And typically, many people do all of the above. So basically, they outsource regulation, which is supposed to be an inside job, actually, for healthy people, that we regulate ourselves. Now, many times, narcissistic people will say, I can't help myself, okay? Or, I'm sorry, I get it. I wasn't supposed to say it that way. I wasn't supposed to say that. The apologies don't tend to be sincere. It's never really about the hurt you might have caused to someone else. It's about the, okay, I get there's rules, and I got caught not being the way everyone wants. That kind of apology doesn't feel good. Narcissistic people, after they have their tantrum, that's when they'll say they're sorry, after they've completely rattled another person, and then even say nonsense about, oh, I'm actually really thankful for you. I'm grateful for you. But clearly they weren't so grateful for you that they had no problem verbally vomiting all over you. But if you suspect that you are narcissistic, you can help yourself. And the way you do that is you wait that extra beat before you speak. Maybe it's 5 seconds, and then you don't yell. You don't send the text. You don't send the email. You don't storm out. Listen, folks, you have a frontal lobe. It works. Let it do its job. However, it's going to be harder for you to inhibit than for a person who's not narcissistic. Healthy, well-regulated people can stop themselves. They may not even want to say something hurtful in the first place, but healthy people get angry. And sometimes they get so angry that they wish they could send the angry text. They wish they could tell their boss or their colleague or their friend to F off. But they don't. Healthy people catch themselves. They breathe through it. Maybe they take a walk. Maybe they talk to a friend. Maybe they take a shower. Maybe they take a run. But they bring themselves down without lashing out at someone else. The dysregulation and impulsivity of narcissism are what do a significant part of the emotional damage of this narcissistic pattern. And for the narcissistic folks out there watching this who really want to honestly change, if you were to actually only pick one thing to address in your personality style, let it be this. The dysregulation is what makes narcissistic folks scary. It's what leaves people feeling that you are unpredictable. It's why some people avoid you and even distance themselves. And it's why people are really anxious and walk on eggshells around you because they never know what will set you off. So the answer is that don't react in a volatile manner when you get set off, and people won't be so anxious around you. Dysregulation and impulsivity in narcissism serve a very particular function. They let narcissistic people reduce their tension, blow off steam, as it were. Dysregulation episodes really often look like adult tantrums. The narcissistic person yelling and screaming and whining and fussing and sending inappropriate texts and posting stuff on social media and sending inappropriate emails and drugging or drinking. Then the tension is released and they might even look calm and fine afterwards. Now, everyone else around the narcissistic person or anyone else around the narcissistic person is kind of shattered, by the way, but the narcissist looks calm. And this is how one of the most common things that plagues people in narcissistic relationship, how it unfolds. The narcissistic person gets set off by some ego injury or frustration. The narcissistic person lashes out at someone else. The other person gets upset. Maybe the other person they lashed out at raises their voice too. Maybe they cry because they're hurt. Now, the narcissistic person, by yelling, has already released their tension by screaming at that other person who's now upset. So now the narcissistic person is calm. And then the narcissistic person gaslights the other person and says in a calm voice, "You need to calm down. What is wrong with you? Why are you so emotional? It wasn't that big deal. You look crazy." This is a classical maneuver. It is manipulative and is not okay. You have to take ownership for your behavior. Listen, all of us, every person out there has these episodes of psychological tension. And the things that well-regulated, healthy people do include, like I said, they may cry or take a walk or take a shower or go to therapy, talk to friends, journal, pray, meditate, punch a boxing bag, go to the gym, watch a silly movie, read a book. And then we come down and calm down, or the moment passes and we don't hurt someone else. Yelling at other people, demanding that people listen to your one-sided diatribe, throwing stuff, blaming other people, that is not regulated. Lots of narcissistic people want to say, and they've said it to me many times, listen, this is just how I am. I have to be accepted the way I am. Let me have my tantrum and everything will be okay. No, that's not an option. Your tantrums scare kids, coworkers, family members, dogs, cats, therapists, and strangers. Narcissism is not psychosis. Psychotic people may not always be able to keep it together, but you can when it matters to you, right? If you're narcissistic. When narcissistic folks want to look good in front of someone else, they're able to keep it together. So that means you can take a moment if you're narcissistic and get this more right. And this dysregulation and reactivity are actually not good for your health and can really magnify cardiovascular, cerebrovascular, and other stress-sensitive health issues. For example, your immune functioning. So, think you're a narcissist? What do? Number one, recognize that for the rest of your life, and let's just start with today, you have to be mindful in all that you say and do. In its simplest form, mindfulness and regulation that really just involve waiting a beat before you do something or say something. Before you say something to someone else, especially if you're charged up, stop, wait, think about how it'll affect someone else, and then and only then say it. I know it's not easy. In fact, it's quite similar to the struggle that recovering addicts go through every day of their lives. For example, they can no longer drink, so they commit to sobriety, and 100 times a day have to stop themselves Before they grab a bottle, go into a bar, say yes to a drink. For a narcissistic person who wants to be better, you have to commit to thinking before you speak or before you act. It can take months and years and even a lifetime to get this really right, and no one gets it right every time. Even the healthiest people sometimes say the wrong thing. But if you get it right 75% of the time, you will have greatly improved the lives of those around you, and you will have done wonders for yourself. So stop, think, breathe, and only then speak if you still need to. Number 2, watch your tone. Don't yell. Don't menace. Don't be passive-aggressive. Don't demean. Don't talk down to people. Don't yell at people. Try to put a smile in your words. And again, this is hard if you're frustrated or angry, but tone can be a real part of impulsivity. It can be what can take a sentence and make it dismissive or harsh. This all relates back to that point in number 1 of stop, think, breathe, and only then speak, and always be mindful and watch your tone. Number 3, don't send the text or the email. Texting for narcissistic people is the equivalent of giving a 3-year-old child a grenade. It's a tool that narcissistic people routinely abuse because texting is built for impulsivity. The challenge with texting or DMing is that it's too easy and too fast. There really should be an anti-impulsivity function on texting devices that force you to answer, "Are you sure you want to send this text?" before you send the text. It's interesting. The other day, a pizza delivery platform asked me if I'm sure before I placed my order. Ordering a pizza is lower stakes than raging and saying unforgivable things at another human being. So clearly it can be built in. Instead of opening your texting app when you're feeling angry, write the text if you feel like you need to into your notes application on your phone, and then don't send it. Sleep on it for 24 hours and then only then look at it. Odds are, if indeed you are committed to behaving in a better and less narcissistic way, you will say, probably not a good idea to send this, and delete it. With emails, don't do that. And you know what? Don't put a recipient in the to line. If you want to write your email, sleep on it for 24 hours, or send it to someone you trust so they can tell you if they think it's unhinged. It's very unsettling for another person to receive word salad, really long, angry, confusing, and accusatory emails. It's unsettling for other people to wake up to these emails because you're writing them in the middle of the night. It's unsettling for them to have their work days interrupted by these emails because you're writing them around the clock. And it's unsettling to have their days and nights punctuated with these dysregulated technological assaults. Don't do it. Number 4, find whatever daily practice you need to help you regulate. That could be exercise, breathing, meditation, mindfulness, breath work, a hobby, that kind of focus on something that takes the emotional energy and transfers it into the physical can help release and also focus you. And as an aside, it's hard sometimes for people who have difficult personalities. Don't try to proselytize and convert people to your daily practice. It's for you. You don't have to convince everyone to join you in your breathwork success. If it works for you, bravo, that's wonderful. It can be just for you, and just because the rest of us don't do breathwork, there's not something wrong with us. Number 5, get therapy. Good therapists who know narcissism can walk you through this territory of managing these dysregulated moments. Number 6, only minimally or ideally not at all, don't drink or use drugs. Putting alcohol and drugs on top of narcissism and its impulsivity is like dropping gasoline and matches on a California forest these days. The alcohol is an accelerant, and it makes the impulsivity much more likely and the lashing out much worse. Drunk people are impulsive and sloppy. Narcissistic people are impulsive and lack empathy. The combination of the two is actually terrifying and damaging. And because a lot of narcissistic folks use drugs or alcohol to regulate, the likelihood of this alcohol or drug and narcissism combination is quite likely, and it's real problematic. And saying, I didn't mean what I said when I was drunk, it doesn't fly because the other person was hurt. So it meant something to them. If you can't stop yourself from saying stuff, get sober. Stop drinking, stop using. It's the only way to address this very hurtful dysregulation pattern. Drug and alcohol use tend to be relatively common in narcissistic folks because it's a way for them to regulate, and it makes the acting out worse. The only way to get to the core of the dysregulation is to stop all of it. Number 7, have a routine. One thing that helps with regulation is predictability for you. Have a routine. Whatever those might be steps that you follow every morning, like boom, boom, boom. Have a schedule, have a routine, create predictability for yourself. This doesn't work by itself. It can't be the only thing you do, and you also need to be flexible in the face of disruptions to your schedule. It's not always going to go the way you want. But having some kind of routine, combined with mindfulness, combined with controlling drugs and alcohol, can really help you sometimes have some handholds and benchmarks to count on during a difficult day and make it less likely that the frustration will get the best of you. Number 8, life is frustrating. A major core issue in dysregulation is that narcissistic folks do not like disappointment or frustration. None of us do. But for narcissistic folks, disappointment or frustration often turn into rage because they puncture the grandiosity and this idea of life needing to be perfect and everything going perfectly. Life happens, stuff goes wrong, it's life. A combination of these techniques and a clear awareness that life is indeed messy. Everyone's lives are messy. You're not the exception to that. It's happening to everyone. That way of thinking can go a long way. As always, though, I applaud anyone who believes that they might have these narcissistic personality styles and wants to start turning the ship around a little bit. It takes time to shift behavior. It's painful, it's difficult, and there will always be some setbacks on some days. But you can also do it. It just means 24/7 mindful awareness and removing anything that weakens your ability to remain mindful. But trust me when I tell you it's worth it. It's worth it for you, for your mental health, for your overall health, and for the people around you. This is worth doing. Addressing dysregulation, even if you're not doing it for the people around you, to do it for yourself, at a minimum, will address things like cardiovascular reactivity, the stuff that can really take a toll on your health. And if you can really get it figured out, it's going to make you a lot easier to be around, and you're going to notice the change in how people regard you. Thanks again.